So, welcome again and thank you for being here today. I think we are enough people. We can start without waiting. So, today we have week 21 prayers and meditations by the Mother, and the prayer is March 13, 1914. So, I think with every prayer, there are many layers of interpretation, and whatever is revealed to us, maybe that's what we need at this moment of time, and that should be enough. So, with this prayer, also, it's a long prayer, and many again revelations are hidden in this prayer. So, let us see how much is revealed to us through this reflection and sharing. Maybe that is what we need today. So, just a second. Screen. Okay. So, anyone who feels ready, if one can unmute and read the prayer for all of us before we begin sharing reflections. Sharda ji, would you like to
Yeah,
hear?
I'll read.
Okay.
March 13, 1914. How many different levels there are in consciousness? This word should be reserved for what is illumined in a being by thy presence, is identified with thee and partakes of thy absolute consciousness, for that which has knowledge, that which is perfectly awakened, as the Buddha says. So shall I continue, Monica, or we'll reflect and we'll go to the next
I
slide?
think at once, maybe let us read the full prayer and then slowly we will take up all the pieces.
Sure. Outside this state, there are infinite grades of consciousness, going right down to complete darkness, the veritable inconscience, which may be a domain yet untouched by the light of thy divine love. But this seems improbable in physical substance, or which is for some kind of reason of ignorance outside our individual range of perception. This is, however, only a way of speaking and a very incomplete one. For when the being becomes aware of thy presence and is identified with thy consciousness, it is conscious in all things and everywhere. But the fleeting duration of the supreme consciousness can be explained only by the complexity of the elements of the being, by their unequal illumination, and by the fact that they enter into activity successively. It is, moreover, because of this successive activity that they can gradually become aware of themselves as a result of their experiences, both objective and subjective, which are really one and the same. That is, discover thee in their unfathomable essence. The subconscient is the intermediate zone between precise perception and ignorance, total darkness. It is probable that most things, even human beings, live constantly in the subconscient. Few emerge from it. This is the conquest that is to be made. For to be conscious in the true sense of the word is to be thyself integrally. And is not this the very definition of the work to be accomplished, the mission to be fulfilled upon earth? Deliver us, O Lord, from darkness. Grant that we may become perfectly awake. Sweet Master of love, grant that all my consciousness may be concentrated in thee, so that I may live only by love and light, and that love and light may radiate through me and awaken in all our journey. May this physical journey be like a symbol of our action, and may we leave everywhere a trace of thee like a trail of light and love. O divine Master, eternal teacher, thou livest in all things, in all beings, and thy love bursts upon the sight of even the most ignorant. Grant that all may become aware of it in the depths of their being and that hatred may disappear forever from their hearts. My ardent gratitude rises to thee like a tireless chant. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Monica.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
So, this one uh, we'll take up from the beginning itself, but this line where Mother is resharing with us alongside many, many other instances where she shares what is to be done as human beings. And many of us, I feel we get lost here because we think that, oh, the idea of life is just to enjoy it. But we see enjoyment in terms of a very low kind of entertainment, that we can get addicted to substances and things and media and all that, and that is what is enjoyment about. So although enjoyment is there in a distorted form, but the true basis of this existence is delight of the being, which we confuse with enjoyment or lower entertainment of sorts. So here Mother shares that the very work that we all have to accomplish as human beings, that is what Mother in this paragraph is resharing with us. What is the purpose of us being here? And today I was just talking to someone, and someone who I know for a long time now, and I asked, okay, what do you think at the moment? What is your understanding on the purpose of you being here, as human being? And she said that, I don't know, maybe just to have these experiences. And then she said, ki, we are all as soul consciousnesses, we are all fulfilled and we are all divine and all that. But then I said that what's the fun of calling ourselves soul consciousness when in my daily life I live like a beggar? And this is the task to be fulfilled, that I know that there is a treasure intellectually, theoretically, we know that there is a treasure hidden in all of us. We are all at the depth of our being divine. But the way I live, is that a reflection of that divinity? And if it is not, then that is what is the work to be accomplished. That's what Mother is sharing here, that for to be conscious in the true sense of the word is to be thyself integrally. So, in my thoughts, in my emotions, in my feelings, sense perceptions, ideologies, all that has to turn fully divine. Am I there yet? So that is the question I can pose, since we were discussing that she felt that the purpose is just to randomly go through these experiences and nothing actually is to be accomplished, because since we are all full and content in our depth of our being. But what is the fun? Again, that's what I was asking her, that I may be a king, but if my treasure is hidden deep inside and I don't know how to find that treasure and I'm living like a beggar, then what would be the purpose of my life? My purpose is to reclaim the treasure I possess. So that's our purpose, that to reclaim. That's why we call this union with the divine, or yoga, integral yoga, so that we reclaim this at all the levels of our being, not only psychic consciousness but also mental consciousness, vital consciousness, physical consciousness. All that fully turns to the divine consciousness, which is our birthright, but we have to work towards it. It's not just like we can say that we are all Buddha natured and hence there is nothing to do. So yeah. Okay. So yes, any reflections, anyone, any lines coming prominently to anyone while we go through this at the moment? Okay, so what we can do is we can go in bits and pieces, and then in the in between we can take up also reflections on those bits as we go ahead. So how many different levels there are in consciousness? And Mother says this word consciousness actually should be reserved only for what is illumined in a being by thy presence. So when the light of consciousness is fully conscious of one particular dot, if one can say, in our being, I am fully conscious of one pattern or one thing, then then you can use this word. Otherwise, mother says, this should be actually reserved. Why? Because even if I am looking at a pattern and becoming conscious of it, there also there are several layers of ignorance I can become conscious of. So we can never actually, I feel, we can never really truly at this moment of our life, we cannot say that I truly understand the purpose of this in my life. Yes, we can have relative degrees of realizations, but since, as mother says, how many different levels are in consciousness, so we don't know what is the purpose at various levels being served by a pattern which for now I have become conscious of. That's why there is always more to understand, more to go into depths of our being. So whatever is illumined in a being by thy presence, the presence of divine consciousness, full of light and power and force, clarity, vision, and is identified with thee, the divine consciousness, and partakes of thy absolute consciousness for that which has knowledge, that which is perfectly awakened, as the Buddha says. So when we read these three lines, at least what occurs to me is that we cannot claim anything. We can only say that yes, we are becoming aware and yet more aware of things within ourselves, but the claim cannot be made since there are several layers to our ignorance, and we cannot say that okay, in this aspect or in this phase or kind of field of whatever I am looking at, I feel I am perfectly illumined. That is, I feel, far far away. Although that is parallelly our birthright, it is our destiny, it is our, one can say, essence, that clarity. But right now in my level of ignorance, I can't say that. It can only be said, for example, by a Buddha, who has now, through several lifetimes of tapasyas, he has become perfectly awakened, and he has the knowledge of all that transpires in the manifest and unmanifest realms. Yeah. So anything here at this paragraph, anyone? And also, then when mother says partakes of thy absolute consciousness, um, the divine consciousness, other names that we use are love, kindness, compassion, clarity, knowledge, like vision, uh, depth of understanding, all these words we can use, expansiveness, oneness. So in any part of our being, if all these qualities of absolute consciousness one is able to partake of, then in that particular area one can say there is a perfect illumination. So this is for each one of us to do, I would say, a self kind of analysis, or not like in a logical term, but like just a self observation. Where am I? But again, not to beat ourselves up if we find ourselves in ignorance, which we will. So not for the beating part, but just to very objectively look at, oh, I don't really have clarity here. So again, there is more depths to go, more heights to kind of travel. And outside this state, so outside this full identification with divine consciousness, mother shares, outside this state there are infinite grades of consciousness. Now this is what we try to say when we say each one of us is at different levels of consciousness. At times we use this sentence in our day to day language. So that is what it is referring to, that there are shades of degrees of consciousness. Again, not saying who is inferior, superior here, and not in that sense, but how much is illumined, how much is still in shadow, in each domain of our being. So outside this perfect illumination that Mother talks about in the first three lines, there are infinite grades. Look at this, infinite. So infinite grades of consciousness going right down to the complete darkness, the veritable inconscience, which may be a domain yet untouched by the light of thy divine love. So, as we have read again and again, that divine love was sent down, it was like an aspect of the Divine Mother, Mahamaya, or the Divine Shakti or Aditi, an aspect of Divine Mother, just like Mother knows how to care for a child. So, this creation is like a child of the Mother. And if the child is in trouble, Mother can send out and extend her love, and that love can save the child. So, this aspect of divine love went out in the creation, which went dark for some reason, or for maybe adventure, for the spirit of adventure. And there may be, of course, there are places in our subjective being which are still untouched by any light of illumination, any love. They are very, very dark and still, like patal loka, as we say, that no light reaches there. So that is one domain, going right down to complete darkness. Hmm? And then Mother says, but this seems improbable in physical substance. Why? Because when creation happened and when this conversion or distortion happened, immediately divine love was sent in the depths of matter. So Mother says that this is improbable, that it is untouched, and yet there may be domains. But Mother says, because the Shakti or the divine love has been sent into matter for waking it up from inertia and dullness, it is improbable that it is untouched. That also Mother parallelly says. Or which is for some kind of reason of ignorance outside our individual range of perception. Now, there are many, many blindfolds that we have. We are not able to see our patterns. We may be actually following the dictates of patterns in our day-to-day life. We will be maybe living those patterns alive every day. But when somebody says that, oh, you do this, it actually gives us a shock at times. Why? Because we are blinded by our patterns. We become one with the pattern, and we are not having that breathing space or distance so that we can look at the pattern from a stepped back position, like witnessing the pattern. And when we begin to do this, then newer possibilities arise. So, for Mother says, what are the other grades that for some reason, for kind of reason of ignorance, outside our individual range of perception. So I'm just blinded and I can't see what I do into my ignorance. The light of consciousness is not yet fallen on that pattern, particular one. So anything here, anyone?
Yeah, just a small sharing.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you spoke about like how we, I mean, I don't know how to put it, but you know, these aha moments that I have had about myself. Like, okay, say I'm just talking about somebody and a friend says that, oh my God, you know, will you stop already? Like, how long will you be obsessed? And it was like, I'm obsessed. Oh, yeah, that's what it looks like. You know, like these, and even like, say, about, say, going through things, like how so much of what I'm going through, I'm hiding from myself or it's hidden from me. It's just shocking that how is it even possible? Like when you see, it's not possible to unsee that. But then one wonders that how could you not see that before? Like, and I call myself that, okay, I do have brains, right? I am a relatively intelligent person. So it's not about intelligence, that is for sure. And yet so much grace to be able to see in these places. You know how it's like, say there are 50 things on a stage, and but the spotlight is just on, say, 10, and I think just 10 it is. And when I'm shown 11, it comes as a surprise. When I'm shown 12, it's just very
Absolutely.
interesting,
Hmm.
very humbling and grounding, and so much grace to be shown those dark corners slowly. I mean, again, mother is also gentle.
Hmm.
It's usually not, full on that. Yeah, that's it. I
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hmm. Hmm. So I think that's why we can actually become, it's good to become a little unsure of oneself because, as you said, like a dark stage and we don't know what all is hidden, and slowly as it comes to light, then we can know or we will know. So it's good to be a little unsure about all these opinions and ideas in about our head that we hold either about oneself or others or even about life. So good to hold them lightly. Yeah. Anything, anyone else? Okay, so please keep unmuting as and when required. So this is, however, a way of speaking and a very incomplete one. For when the being becomes aware of thy presence and is identified with thy consciousness, it is conscious in all things and everywhere. So, Mother, I feel it like it's a very advanced, one can say, realization where there is a complete identification with the divine consciousness, and then there is no like reverse turn. So, Mother says that it's an incomplete way of saying when we were sharing about grades of consciousness and this part illuminated, the other part not. Why? Because when the being becomes aware of thy presence and is identified with thy consciousness, then it is conscious in all things and everywhere. Then there is nothing that is not seen. And this we can relate with, for example, a Buddhahood state, a state of Buddhahood where everything is known, everything is seen. So, a state of complete identification with the divine consciousness. But then, Mother shares, but the fleeting duration of this supreme consciousness. Now, many times we get glimpses that we have absolute clarity, like total clarity. We are feeling full of a kind of love we cannot explain. There is a state of oneness, but again, it comes and goes. We fall back into our ego consciousness, limited self. So, Mother talks about that, but the fleeting duration of this supreme consciousness can be explained only by the complexity of the elements of the being. Now, we have often talked about surrender, for example, that we can never say that my surrender is full because the next moment my surrender may be not full. So, in one moment, full surrender, next moment, the ego takes the front seat again and the surrender is completely gone. That happens. And that is why, as a matter of language or speaking, we use the term that my surrender is increasing when out of 10 moments that I become conscious of, I see that in 5 moments I was in state of devotion or surrender, and in 5 moments I was not, while earlier there was only one moment of surrender. So, as a matter of speech, I say I am increasing in my surrender, I am improving, getting better. But if we look closely, either we are identified with Supreme Consciousness in one moment, or in the other moment we are not. So, Mother says, why do we say that, or why does this happen? That in one moment of time there is supreme clarity, wisdom, oneness, expansiveness of being. We've all touched these spaces. We may not remember at all, but still we may have a memory of that as well. So, Mother says, because the fleeting duration is there, and how can the fleeting duration is be explained? Only by the complexity of the elements of the being. Now, the being is so complex So many hidden pieces and parts, like in a complex machinery that is there, little parts and pieces, hmm, by their unequal illumination. So some parts are more ready for the dawning of light. Others say, no, 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 not yet ready, not yet ready. So they don't yet want to walk the path of illumination. So they are still dark. Hmm? So there are parts in us, beings, pieces in us which are ready to move ahead, but one or the other piece is not ready, and then it says, no, no more light for me. So we hide it again. It hides from the light of consciousness. So this unequal illumination, just like Taru shares this example of the stage, so it's unequal illumination. Rest of the stage is in dark. On one there is a spotlight, or maybe on a couple there may be a spotlight, more seen, more visible, ready to express themselves, but the others not yet ready, still behind the curtain, for example. Hmm? And by the fact that they enter into activity successively. So just like on a stage, continuing with that example, one person has a role to play. So what do they do usually if you go to theater? They, not the movie theater, like the role play theater, they put the spotlight on that particular person, and the one who is speaking right now. So the one part which is manifesting itself in creation, that is now at the moment illuminated, and then the spotlight may go off from that, and it may move to some other part now which has the role to speak or to manifest. So mother says that it's because of this successive activity of the parts and planes of our being that they can gradually become aware of themselves as a result of their experiences. So this gradation hence is allowed in our kind of evolution, because as we grow in bits and pieces, and we have many different parts which are waiting to get illuminated. Some of them are not even waiting to get illuminated, they just want to hide themselves. But the divine mother, full of love, slowly she graces the presence of love on each and every dark part of our being. So slowly, as we become ready, just like in mythology, Indian mythology, we see Rakshasas or Asuras, so they are very doing trahi and all that in their Patal Loka, as they say, very dark, full of darkness and dullness. But the Divine Mother wakes them up. She doesn't say that, okay, you are a Rakshasa or Asura, but you can remain Rakshasa and Asura as long as you like. She intervenes, and with her love, she allows even the Asuras to come forward to some kind of action so that they move from their inertia. So these Asuras are nothing but these patterns in us, also, metaphorically speaking. They are these hidden parts in us, shadows in us, which don't want light. They are very happy with the mechanical nature, eating, sleeping, going to bed, enjoying something, maybe some addictions. That's the life of a asura, consumption. But the divine mother, for her, even the asura is a child. So mother would not leave the child alone. So she would coax and cajole the asura to come out and do some or the other kind of activity, so that slowly his parts come to kind of come forward. He shows his parts through his activities, and then the mother can transform by coaxing and cajoling. Yeah, so as they gradually become aware of themselves as a result of their experiences, both objective and subjective, which are really one and the same. So mother gives us a googly every time, see, she says something else, and then in back brackets we have something else. So mother is talking about object and subject. So there is a person in front of me who is the object of my attention, who is making my life hell. And then I am the subject who is being troubled by the person. Usually that is how we see. Hmm? Mother is saying which are really one and the same. Now this is where we struggle mostly, that how can it be? How can it be that that person who is completely looking seemingly separate from me and has no connection that per se with my subjective being, Mother is saying they are one and the same. So if we reflect upon this, I think then our complaints from people around us will become actually lower and lower, and they may actually vanish totally. They have the possibility of vanishing, because once you realize that it's only one, whatever the mind projects is seen through the senses, mortal senses. So if I change the projection of mind, then the outer appearances don't have to be the way they are right now. So I think this is something very powerful, and we can, in our silences, also reflect upon this. That these experiences, which are also objective and also subjective experiences, which are really one and the same, that is, discover thee in their unfathomable essence. So all the activities of our life have just this one motive. I think again, setting our inner alignment right, inner compass right. Losing a job, getting a job, losing a loved one, not losing a loved one, you know, getting a disease, healing through a disease, all these are extremely secondary, extremely secondary. The purpose of all these experiences is to discover the divine in its unfathomable essence. And if that purpose is being served, all experiences are very welcome. So this can really set our inner compass right. Yeah, so we will take reflections here. Anyone? Okay, so I'm moving ahead in absence of anything. The subconscious is the intermediate zone between precise perception and ignorance. So there is complete darkness. I totally have no idea. I don't even know that I have no idea. So, first, I don't have any idea, and that I don't even know that I don't have any idea. So, total blindness. And then there are patterns, mechanical patterns, thought patterns, the way I react, the way I feel again and again on the same thing. There is a particular pattern that comes up if you have observed. In every aspect of our life, we have patterns that arise. Mechanical, they are mostly, and we, in our ignorance, in our darkness, we keep on following the patterns. So these patterns are a bit higher, one can say, from the rungs of the ladder than the total darkness. So there is complete dullness and inertia, and then there is at least kind of a pattern arising. So pattern has a movement, pattern has a gati to it. So mother says that this subconscious, which is how our mechanical habits are rooted, the subconscious is the intermediate zone between clarity, absolute clarity, knowing, and total darkness. So there is some movement there. It is probable that most beings, even human beings, live constantly in this subconscious, and that is why Kabir makes fun. Kabirji makes fun of us human beings because he says that you live like animals. You eat, you chew, you sleep, you eliminate. All these animals also do. So what's very special about you human beings? Because we live mechanically, we live like animals. But animals, if we see in process of evolution, they are a bit uh, forward in rungs of evolution than a stone or a plant, because it has movements, it has instincts, and then it follows those instincts habitually, like it doesn't do anything about it, but it just follows, gets up, reproduces, sleeps, finds, hunts a prey, and then eats. So all these are animal instincts, and furthermore also many more. So we as human beings live mostly as animals. Mother Shri Aurobindo shared that that is not our destiny. Only human beings have the capacity to, from an animal man to become a divine man. So slowly we have to become conscious of the animal instincts in us through which we react, and let go of them if we can drop the baggage, so that the divine man can take shape. That's our destiny. So this subconscious, this mechanical habits is the intermediate zone between precise perception, clarity, knowing, wisdom, intelligence, and ignorance, total darkness. It is probable that most beings, even human beings, live constantly in this subconscious. Few emerge from it. This is the conquest that is to be made. Again, Mother is realigning our purpose being human. This is the conquest that is to be made. So हमें ये नहीं कहना that I am like that only. We must never say that, because whenever I am saying I am like that only, I am actually binding myself in some limits. At the moment I may be like that, but there is always possibility for progress. So this is the conquest to be made. We have to stop defending our patterns. We have to stop taking sides of our patterns, that मैं तो ऐसी ही हूँ. For to be conscious in the true sense of the word is to be thyself integrally. So, totally divine being. Thoughts divine, feelings divine, motive, intentions divine, sense perceptions, way of looking, everything has been turned to the divine consciousness. And when we say the word divine consciousness, we can again reflect upon it in many different ways. Purity, perfection, beauty, oneness, wideness, harmony, abundance. These are all words that we can relate with. Then we talk of the word divine. Love, and love is something which again is equivalent with freedom. So the divine is love and freedom together, and that is why we have so much free will, that if I don't want, I don't have to step on to this path of self purification. Although it's by nature it is happening, but actively, consciously, there is a free will. So is not this the very definition of the work to be accomplished, the mission to be fulfilled upon earth? Now this is again, in this paragraph, I feel it's like a realignment of why am I here as a human being. I am dark, yes, but I am also capable of becoming conscious of that darkness, and hence being able to transcend it, transmute it, go to the depths of it, and find that hidden light in the depth of darkness which is there. So that's the purpose. So we must never excuse ourselves saying that, oh, I am so dark, what do I do about it? Yes, we are all dark, not in terms of complexion, but yeah, in the sense of our beingness. All the ugliness, weaknesses are inside us. But then what to do? We can't leave ourselves like that. So we have to find our way out through these processes, not to get disappointed again and again on ourselves that मेरा कुछ नहीं होगा. From time to time we may fall there. So I think this is very helpful, because often we forget what are we here for. Because if our family is not happy, children are not happy, not happy in the sense, they are not satisfied, and they're not acting the way I would like them to, then we feel, oh, we disappoint ourselves, and we say, oh, what is the purpose of this life? Everything is not going according to the way I want. So then we sway ourselves from why we are here. So I think this, from time to time, if we go through these lines, it's helpful to remind us why are we here, what is the purpose or mission as a human being on earth. Yeah, so anything here? Anyone? Okay, so going ahead. Deliver us, O Lord, from darkness. Grant that we may become perfectly awake. So this prayer again, comes to life. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. So from complete darkness, tamas, ignorance, take me towards light, clarity. So we don't have to shun the tamas, we don't have to either follow the dictate also. We can become conscious of it and we can pray and aspire to be shown the light, the complete clarity. So deliver us, this can be our aspiration. Deliver us, O Lord, from darkness, grant that we may become perfectly awake. Sweet Master of love, grant that all my consciousness may be concentrated in Thee. Now, this is also a good point to reflect upon, where all we concentrate our consciousness. And we all know where all we concentrate in relaxed moments, so-called entertaining ourselves. We and even in middle of entertainment, actually, we can have the true consciousness. We can the same movie, for example, can be seen in a way which is a deep and a higher way of looking, or a same movie can be seen in a very tamasic way of looking at the movie. So mother says that grant that all consciousness may be concentrated in thee. So I may only live for thee, so that I may live only by love and light, and that love and light may radiate through me. So this is again very beautiful, that imagine that, each one of us, knowing that the world is suffering so heavily, just like we suffer in our personal lives, the world suffers with us. We are not alone in our suffering. So can I be one drop of poison less? Can I, knowing that the world is suffering as I suffer, can I now become ready to leave my unfulfilled wishes, desires, expectations, demands, likings, preferences? Can I just let them be on the sideways, not give them much importance? So that I may live only by love and light, and that love and light may radiate through me. So we, each of us, has the possibility to become this, small sparks of light, which will really help the mankind and all the beings, and awaken in all on our journey. May this physical journey be like a symbol of our action, and may we leave everywhere a trace of thee, like a trail of light and love. Beautiful. So, there are people who we meet and they are just full of devotion. We may have met many people like that. I remember once I was in Pondicherry last year. I had shared with you. There was this conference going on by Nama. So there was this lady that came in the morning, a very old lady, dressed like, looked pretty South Indian and in her sari and all, and looked like as if she would have been living on streets only. But there was so much, so much bhakti and devotion in her. She just came very silently, was murmuring something, and she had flowers in her hand. And besides us was a photo of Mother and Sri Aurobindo in the hall, in the society hall. And she just prayed to the mothers and Sri Aurobindo's picture, kept her, in a decorated way, her flowers there, did her round, and then she just silently went away. So, like that, she again, maybe illiterate, maybe uneducated, but the devotion and light that she had, I think that still after 1 year, although 1 year is not that much of a time, but it left an imprint on me, of kind of an inspiration, how the devotion and bhakti can be very innocent. So, like that, each one of us, can we be like a little spark of that light and love and devotion, so that wherever we go, either we will leave some badbu, like like a stench, or either we can leave a fragrance. So what do I want to leave? That's what we can choose and decide. So wherever we go, we can leave a trace of the, like a trail of light and love. So wherever we go, we can touch, leave imprints of divinity in those spaces and places. O divine master, eternal teacher, thou livest in all things, in all beings, and thy love bursts upon the sight of even the most ignorant. So when we, look at people who may be, according to us, living ignorantly, this is what our possibility is. So we can either say that, oh, this is not where my work is. Maybe my work is somewhere else, where people appreciate what I am doing. Or if we are in true touch with our divinity, with the divine consciousness, then Mother says this is our possibility, that thy love bursts upon the sight of even the most ignorant. I think that's what must be inspiring people to go down to, uh, go to even prisoners and criminals and work there, you know, having a hope that yes, even there something beautiful is possible. We cannot give just hope away that if somebody has committed sins, then he is a sinner forever. So that is the kindness and compassion I feel that we all have the possibility to get in connection with, that the love bursts upon the sight of even most ignorant, that we won't be able to just leave them like that. And also parallelly, talking about our own selves also, that whenever we see ignorance in us, we don't have to beat ourselves up. As Mother says, that love is the only transformative power. No other power has the possibility to transform, transmute. Grant that all may become aware of it in the depths of their being, and that hatred may disappear forever from their hearts. So, when we come in contact with any person who feels ignorant to us, who maybe has done something which may not like, we may feel aversion or annoyance or irritation or hate even. So, Mother says that grant that each one of us is so united in their uh, true consciousness, so feeling one with that true love within, that in connection with all the people that we meet, for example, just one way of sharing on this, uh, we may never feel any hate. We may only feel compassion and love. How beautiful would that be? So all the people that come to your mind who may be very difficult or maybe living in ignorant mind life, you think that inka kuch nahi ho sakta. Many times we have thoughts like that. So when we come in contact with these people, we are full of love. Mother says love bursts upon the sight of even the most ignorant. Hatred may disappear. So hence the hatred can't stay at all when this is the state of consciousness that I live from. My ardent gratitude rises to thee like a tireless chant. So when we have this attitude in life that every experience that we're having is a opportunity for me for a union, perfect union, then we actually feel grateful for each experience that we have. So my ardent gratitude rises to thee like a tireless chant. So a chanting that is going on tirelessly, since we see in our clarity that each moment of our life is an opportunity for making our identification with the true consciousness more and more perfect, more and more perfect. There is no difficulty outside there. All the difficulties are within. And through outside difficulties, I'm getting a chance to remove this hatred that I may have for people who may appear difficult, for example, at times, or appear ignorant and maybe sinners as we label them. or ourselves. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we'll take reflections. Anything anyone wants to share? Okay, so I want to maybe talk about last 2 minutes if there is no sharing. There is something I have shared on the Friday study group. Let me just open it. Yeah, so this is what I got to know today. There were a group of people from Odisha, and Odisha somehow has many Sri Aurobindo schools. So I was asking them, why is it that Odisha has so much of receptivity to Mother Sri Aurobindo? So they have 600 schools based on Sri Aurobindo's vision. And then they told that there was somebody called Sri Ramakrishna Das, also called as Uriya Baba, who actually was a quite very sincere devotee of Mother Sri Aurobindo. So this was the book that they were referring to, Nam Japa, and someone shared that whenever they would meet him, he would always be chanting Mother's name, like Mama, 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 Mama. So always was just doing the japa continuously. So I thought maybe it would be then nice to go through this. It's published by Katak Sri Aurobindo Matru Bhavan. So it talks about this chanting and how japa, this continuous parallel, as if you're generating a parallel consciousness, which is always rooted in the mother in this case, how this can actually, I don't know, I've not gone through it, but let's see. It feels like something very interesting. And I thought that maybe this is the reason that how Odisha, maybe because of his devotion and sincerity, became so receptive to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And the people I met today also, they were full of, they may not be very intellectual people, like, we keep on reflecting, intellectualizing, but they seemed very full of devotion and passion for Mother. Yeah. So, yes, anything, anyone, last comments?
Today's prayer, after your reflection, there's so much clarity because when I was trying to read it, it just felt a little complex to me, especially second, third paragraph. Thank you.
Thank
Explained
you.
it beautifully.
Yeah, actually, I also felt it was a complex prayer, for me also when I was going through it. But then thought that, whatever has to come for us, whatever has to be revealed, it will be revealed. Yeah.
Yeah, Monica, when I was, reading this prayer just now, I was feeling, what is this so long? And will I be able to understand? But after your reflections, through you, the mother has, guided. It's beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. How much in one of the, I don't know, I've read somewhere, how much you know that you do not know. So in Tamil we say கற்றது கையளவு கல்லாதது உலகளவு. Whatever you have learned is only fistful, but what you have to learn is more. It's much more. So like that, um, when we read this prayer each and every time, it might give a different meaning also. Yeah, but today when I was going through that prayer, I was feeling what mother is trying to communicate to me, to us. After your reflections, it is really beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Great. Yeah. Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today.
Thank
And
you.
happy practice, everyone. Bye.